Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today for our session on data analytics. My name is Stephanie Griffin, and I am the admissions officer for RIT's online executive MBA program. Today's session is on data analytics, including the current environment and the current tools available. Two quick items before we get started. Please note that this session is being recorded and will be available later on. And if at any point you have any questions, please use the Q&A box at the bottom left of your screen. We'll try to answer all questions either during the session or at the end if there's time permitting. Because we have a lot to cover in just a half an hour, I'm going to turn it over to Marty Lawler, the director of the online EMBA program, and Marty will introduce today's presenter.
Yeah, thank you, Stephanie. And I'd also like to welcome everybody to the session. We do these in 30 minutes, so I'm going to cut my comments very shortly. I'd only like to say that this is the first of our spring webinar series. We've got one on the effectiveness of things that influence the effectiveness of women leaders in March. That one's being facilitated and moderated by Sandy Rothenberg. She's chair of public policy at RIT and a professor at the Saunders College of MIS, and actually teaches the Power and Influence class in the online EMBA program. We then follow that up with a session on product commercialization and one on finance. The way we do these is we go to certain professors and we say, you pick the topic, we'll give you 30 minutes to talk about it. And so we don't script these at all. At this point, I'd like to say that we chose Vic Perotti to sort of kick off the series with our data analytics session. You can read about Vic's position on the slide, which I think is right here. I'd just like to say that we're real pleased to have Vic here. Beyond all of his position and all the wonderful things he does here, he brings a really creative approach. I know Vic from the classroom. I know his research. He brings that creative approach to both. And he's a highly regarded, one of the most highly regarded instructors we have here, both by his colleagues as well as the students that he teaches. So with that, Vic, I think I'm going to just pass it to you and mute my mic, and away you go.
Awesome. Marty, that's very generous. Thank you. I'm so glad that those of you that have logged in are joining us for today. And I had a lot of fun preparing this material for you today. I have done some teaching in data analytics. We have introduced a new class for every one of our on-campus regular old MBA degree students. And I had the privilege of designing that and teaching it for the first time this past fall. So that's a really good experience for me. And honestly, you couldn't pick a much hotter and more interesting space to talk about. To the extent possible, I will try to field your questions as we go, but I think for the most part, if you have a question, my best chance to answer it will be toward the end. And I will try to respect your time as we go through this process. I am broadcasting live from my humble office here at Saunders College of Business in Rochester, New York. You see the light coming in through the window, and that is actually sunlight, which we don't always see around here, but is a good way to start our presentation. I'm looking to see if this photo of me on the slide is actually the same shirt that I'm wearing today, but I guess it's a different one. Anyway, let's get going. So I'm going to quickly go through a whole set of things today. I put the slides together, and you can blame me for their accuracy or informativeness as we go. I'm going to start with a conversation about hype. I want to tell you some stories about analytics being applied today. I want to talk a lot about the terminology because there are so many terms active in this space, and I don't see very often people trying to make much sense of them or making much sense of them. So I want to do that. I want to talk about tools, and then I want to spend a few minutes really demonstrating to you what I think is one of the most powerful tools available today in this space. So if that's good with you, let's get started. What you have on your screen right now is called the hype curve. The Gartner research company puts this out every year. This is the 2015 one, and it has all of these active technologies that people are interested in today. You see wild things at the far left end of this screen is some things that are still at the very beginning of the excitement around them. We have things like virtual personal assistants. I could really use one of those. Connected home. We haven't seen the sort of peak of those technologies yet. And then uh, as we progress up the hill a little bit, still not quite to the, as you see, peak of inflated expectations, you see data science is sort of a lighter shade of blue. If you look at the legend at the bottom, that says the plateau will be reached in about 2 to 5 years. So data science, according to these smart analysts, will probably peak and then plateau in a few years. If you cross over the hump there in the middle, right where the Internet of Things is, and head down a little bit more, you'll see big data. And big data is a related concept, as is in-memory database management systems and content analytics. So all of these things are finding their way through what Gartner calls the hype cycle. People are really excited about them. I'm old enough where I remember Flavor Flav and Fight the Power, and of course their hit song "Don't Believe the Hype." So I don't think we should necessarily believe the hype analysis from Gartner, and I definitely don't think we should get so wrapped up in all of the excitement about data analytics that we start throwing money willy-nilly at it. And I want to talk today about how sort of the marketplace is progressing, where it's going, where I see it's going, and then quickly demo you one of the tools. So I do want to start by giving you a context and telling a couple stories. The first story I want to tell is a company called Slingshot Power. There's the CEO. Slingshot Power sells solar panels. Now, solar panels turn out to be, certainly if you're Slingshot Power, a really great investment. With their technology, the contemporary technologies and the rebates from the government, the payback time is very short for solar power, and Slingshot Power knows this. But their problem is that customers don't know it. And so their challenge is really finding and educating customers. So Slingshot Power went to sort of a big data analysis approach to first identify customers and then to educate them about what they might get. So they started collecting data from all over the place about customers and locations. And they were able to pull together this data relatively quickly that includes information about people that own their own real estate, that have the required roof or ground space for a solar panel, that live in a municipality or an area where solar panels are allowed and or you get some money back from the government. And they can even determine based on the individual whether that person could get the financing necessary to pay for their solar panels over a long period of time. I see Lacey logged in. Hi, Lacey. Slingshot Power also has the problem, once they find these customers using this big data solution, of educating them. And they can use the power of this technology to really make instantaneous analyses of how quickly someone will be paid back for their investment, given their energy usage, given their current electric bills, and more. So Slingshot Power is competing with much larger and better established companies all over the United States simply by using data to find customers and educate them. Next story. The Texas Rangers organization, their marketing department adopted a technology called Tableau, and they used Tableau to start to figure out what is driving attendance. And perhaps you behave this way if you go to a baseball game. Attendance is often driven by the giveaways, and bobbleheads are particularly popular. So in the marketing group at the Texas Rangers, they realized using Tableau that on Tuesdays, which is an unusual day to go to a baseball game, they were seeing a huge spike in attendance, and the Tuesdays happened to be the days they were doing the bobbleheads. So they did an experiment. What if we created an additional bobblehead? There's Yu Darvish. I'm not a baseball fan, but maybe you know who that is. And by doing this and adding another day on their calendar where they offer bobbleheads, they drove another huge day of attendance at the ballpark. I like the quote from their marketing analyst here. they reach out to people in sales, they reach out to people in accounting as the marketing agency, as the marketing group, and say, hey, let's sit down with the data. We're all working on the same team, and we're all trying to sell tickets. The last line is great. You can make a dashboard too. So this is sort of a novice user in many ways. This is not a hardcore data scientist saying to the accountants and others at the organization, you can do this, I'll show you how. And that, I think, is a picture of where the industry is going today. So as I mentioned earlier, there are so many terms flying around. I read about them every day because I'm interested in the subject matter, but check out a few: data science, big data, business intelligence, data analytics, data mining, pattern recognition, machine learning, unstructured data. I could have filled this page, but for the interest of readability, I left it a little bit sparse. All of these have sort of a unique meaning, and sort of not. I think they are kind of intertwined today in the way many people think about them. And I want to at least do some separation into buckets for the purpose of this presentation and for my own thinking. So let's talk a little bit more. Here's how Gartner describes the marketplace today. I don't know how big that is on your screen, but the letters on my screen are really small. BI platform market is forecast to have grown 14.1 billion in 2013, and so on and so on and so on. This is really dense language, and it takes a few minutes, I think, to parse it and make sense of it. But I want to emphasize one of the quotes here. While analytical capabilities were deployed, they were never fully embraced by the majority of business users, managers, and analysts, primarily because they were considered too difficult to use for many analytical use cases. Interesting. In new sales situations and new investments, requirements were more skewed toward business user-driven data discovery techniques to make analytics beyond traditional reporting more accessible and pervasive to a broader range of users and use cases. In other words, if we analyze the whole marketplace, there is a transition from big technology that begins in the IT office to more personal computer technology that anybody can use, kind of like the marketing people at the Texas Rangers. So one of the first terms that you might encounter in this space is data science. Wikipedia calls it the extraction of knowledge from data. And that really doesn't help to differentiate it at all. But data science involves database, statistics, programming, interdisciplinary work across computing, statistics, math. You may hear words like machine learning in there, uncertainty modeling, mathematical modeling. But the end point of this is highly trained individuals do this, and often highly trained individuals working in teams actually do data science. It may not be for everybody. Another related term, the second of three buckets that I'm going to talk about, is data warehousing, big data. If you're at a big organization or a medium-sized organization, your IT department probably already does some of this. Hadoop is a dominant way to store big data sets. And almost every successful entry in this space uses Hadoop as a way to store and distribute information across computers. But again, this is something that an IT group does, an IT department does. And finally, we get to what I'm going to call business analytics, business intelligence, and that is identifying business insights from existing data. This is often with visualization and other tools. Business users do this. This is for the every person. So we've talked about three buckets. One is data science. The other in the middle is kind of big data, data warehousing. And the last one is this business intelligence. If you look at some of the technologies, I made this slide, and hopefully you can at least see some of the cute icons like the pig and the bee and the elephant. Some of the technologies in the space of data warehouse and analysis include Hadoop that I mentioned a minute ago. They include other database technologies that allow you to store unstructured data. I haven't made a point of that yet, but if you download a huge amount of data from Facebook, if you download a huge amount of data from Twitter, you're getting unstructured data. It could include, the weird language that people write. It could include links and pictures. It's just not as structured as typical numbers and figures that we would have in a business database. And finally, you have tools like Cloudera and Spark that are quite popular for doing some of the analysis on those giant data sets. If I go ahead one, here's some salary figures for these tools like HBase, the database, Pig, the analysis tool, Spark, the analysis tool. You see the median salaries are quite high. Uh, Up there looks like 130, 140 for people that have proficiency with one of these tools. So this is, again, something that the IT department might get some expertise with. If instead we were to talk about the business analytics continuum, that is pushing out technology to users like me, like to the marketing department, the accountants, there's a wide set of tools in this space. Microsoft is embedding business intelligence into Excel, into SQL Server, and into other common platforms that they offer. On the left-hand side of this graph, this figure that I created, we have the R programming language, which is increasingly used by people. I showed my MBA students how easy it is to use R to do a simple analysis of business purpose. On the right-hand side of the scale are you give up some control, but you get more ease of use for something like ClickView and Tableau. And my early experiences with these tools on the right have really blown me away. They're so cool, and I can't wait to show you one. So let's go to the next. This is a chart by Gartner showing where the leaders are in this space of business intelligence, data analytics. And I just want to draw your attention high and to the right. Tableau is really a lead player, and so is Qlik, Q-L-I-K. Microsoft is right up there too. So there's a number of tools competing in this space. I see faculty all the time with these skills as they enter the marketplace. Okay, so I want to show you a tool that I have come to really love. I've shared with other people, and I hope you're as impressed as I am with what we can do. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here and bop over and show you Tableau. There it is. All right, so what I wanted to do with you today is quickly do an analysis. I could have shown you the completed work, but the thing that is jaw-dropping to me, and I hope you're as impressed as I am, is how quickly I can drag this together. So one thing I'd like to do is a very quick analysis geographically of profitability. So I'm going to drag state from my list of fields over here to the left onto my main area. This is kind of like pivot tables if you have any experience there. And I'm going to drag profit into the main page here. Now it looks like I see some places, Ankara, Riyadh. These are places around the world. And for simplicity's sake, I want to limit what I'm doing to the United States. So I'm going to drag a country over and simply filter based on the United States. So I'll only see the United States. Okay, so it by default made for me, it looks like a bunch of short bar charts. If I don't like that, I can very quickly bop over and make this into a map like so. To me, that was so exciting the first time I did it. Now, suddenly we have a map of profitability, and how long did it take me? 45 seconds, something like that. Red means bad, non-profitable. Let's see, who's up here? It looks like Montana lost over the course of time here about $10,000, and good old Mississippi lost even more. We might be interested in asking the question, why is that happening? Let's do quickly another sheet and try to figure that out. I'm going to plot sales by, what should we do? Why don't we break it down by the kind of product that we're looking at? So I'll go with a product category and see if we can make sense of it. So here I have a set of product categories starting with appliances and going all the way down to telephones and communication equipment. And I'm showing the total sales. These are in dollars for each of these items. I sold $4.3 million worth of office machines. To make it a little simpler, I think I'll color them by profitability. I could just drag profit onto color, and here you see a green color scheme for making that happen. One of the most powerful things about Tableau is the concept of dashboards, so I will quickly create a dashboard here. I want that tiled. So I want it to take up the whole page. Yep. And I'll pop out here, and I'll make another dashboard go down to the bottom. All right, so here I have a set of analyses. The first one is a map that shows me the United States and profitability within the United States. And at the bottom, I have my sales. One of the really cool things I can do here is change my map to operate as a filter. So in other words, I can diagnose what's going on in different regions. If I'm interested in California, I select California. I see they made a profit of $86,000, but more interestingly, I can see what happened in the different product categories. In office furnishings, we had a positive $166,000 in sales, but we lost $17,000 profitability. And office machines, oh, that was office machines, right? It's very red, meaning we lost a lot of profitability. Let's see if we can diagnose what happened in Montana up here. So it looks like in Montana, we lost a total of $10,000 over the period in question. And there's one very obvious thing going on here. I had a big number of sales compared to the other categories, $7,000. That's not big overall, but I lost $13,000. So I ought to look at what's happening with office machines, and I might want to look at my overall sales in this region. To me, and when I've shown other people Tableau, this is one of the most quick and amazing analyses you can do. And you see it's as easy as dragging and dropping things together. Okay, so I want to pop back out here and I'll return to my sheet that I was showing you so that we have time for any questions that you may have. Okay, so I did just as quickly as I could. I did it in about 21, 22 minutes. An overview of analytics, the different buckets that I think are important, like data science, data warehousing, business intelligence. We talked about some of the tools all the way from Hadoop to Tableau at the end. And I quickly showed you what I can do in, I don't know, 5 minutes in Tableau. And you could do just as well because it's very easy to use. I invite you at this moment to please pop in and ask a question if you have one. You can type them in the Q&A window or whatever you'd like to do. Otherwise, we have some interesting things that we can talk about. One of the things that I can talk about right off the bat is employers want this set of skills desperately. We have started to place a really significant number of students at Intuit in San Diego, California, and Tableau is used very widely in that organization, and I am finding that to be the case more and more as I look around at different employers, different companies that I'm in contact with. These skills are highly in demand, especially the ones that business users can take advantage of. I see Oliver.
Vic, we do have another question. Oliver was asking regarding the raw data, was it imported from an Excel worksheet or can it be?
Well, Oliver, that's a great question. One of the awesome things about Tableau is it can connect to a huge assortment of different databases, spreadsheets, etc. You have to know that what I was doing was a live connection to a spreadsheet. So if someone went back in and changed the Excel spreadsheet, those numbers would change dynamically. The visualizations would change dynamically on the screen. But that could as well have been a MySQL database, a Hadoop database, you pick it, a different kind of spreadsheet. One of the great things about it is it connects to so many different things. Certainly with Oracle, our IT is using Tableau in our financial organization to visualize and create dashboards. This is something that the university has adopted itself.
Vic, there's another question here. How has it been integrated into curriculum, this idea of data analytics and data science and some of the things you were talking about?
A really good question. So the answer is all over the place. We are building analytics into the curriculum. We have an undergraduate course that has become quite popular in data analytics. That is a more technical course. So we teach our MIS students, the computing students in the business college at the undergraduate level, to master some simple programming techniques in the space and then to use tools like Tableau or something else to visualize it. As I mentioned at the beginning, I taught for the first time ever the MBA students data analytics, and I'm also integrating it now into my class for the online executive MBA. I do the statistics course there. So we're using it in all of those spaces. On top of that, we're launching this fall a master's degree in computational finance, which includes both financial components and analytics components. On top of that, there's a proposal at the RIT Institute level for a new master's degree in data science, and one coming from our organization on business intelligence, business analytics. So it's a real explosion within RIT, and I think we're pretty typical. Many universities are recognizing the importance of this and building curriculum around it. Marty is sharing with me a question that somebody asked about what I'm saying is that these tools are diffusing through the organization. They are. The Gartner analysis suggests that to an extent, some of the bigger, more IT intensive tools are being replaced to some extent by Tableau and ClickView and even some of the Microsoft things that anybody can use. Where should you go to find out more about this subject matter? Well, you should go to RIT and enroll in one of our programs. If you don't want to do that, if you don't want to take the time to do that, there's a good number of resources online for studying this stuff. There are, for example, online classes in data science. If you're really, really technical and you really want to go into the details, you can do a MOOC class in data science. Those are free. You can learn more about business intelligence through tutorials. If you wanted to play with the tool that I showed you today, Tableau, it's available for a free download, and there's really great tutorials through Tableau and then on YouTube through other partners to learn how to do different kinds of analyses. Any other questions?
Great. Well, Vic, I was just going to say, I think we have covered most of the questions either, throughout what you were talking about in the session or afterwards at the end. But what I will do is I will have your information here on the next page. Let me hit that right here. So if anybody has any questions that they think of after the session is over, or if they want additional information, you have said that your information can be available. So thank you for that. If there's any questions, they can email or call you. And I'm just going to take a minute to wrap up here so we can end on time. As Marty mentioned earlier, this is the first of a series of information sessions, and if you want to participate in any of the upcoming sessions that we have, at the end of this session, a URL will be on your screen. You can use that to register for any future sessions. A quick note about important dates that are coming up. I know that I've talked with some of you that are on the session today. You're looking at the program, and just as a reminder, our next class starts in August, and the final application date for that is July 1st. For those who apply by May 1st and are accepted into the program for meeting the early decision deadline, there's $2,500 towards tuition, which a lot of people self-fund, so they find that that's very useful. Lastly, I just want to point out that this information will be emailed to you, so that way you'll have the presentation. You can refer to the material in it. If you want the names of any of the programs that Vic talked about, you'll have this presentation for reference. So I think that's it for now. I want to thank you again, Vic. We had a lot of interest on this subject, so thank you for presenting on that. And thanks everyone for joining us today, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, thanks, Vic. Thanks, Stephanie.